Welcome back to the channel. All right, today we're going to do our TA session. This is going to be hopefully not a super long session. I know I always say that they're going to be short and they end up being pretty long, but today we'll try to make it somewhat short. And we're going to go over our four major coins that we go over on this channel, which is going to be Bitcoin, our reserve asset. Then we'll do Ethereum, EGLD, and Cardano. Today, it's kind of interesting. So I briefly looked at the charts before I started. I didn't really do any analysis. I just wanted to see if I was immediately seeing any patterns. And one thing that I'm noticing is that everything seems to be at a fairly major decision point. And this kind of applies to everything we're going to go over today. We could be looking for a short drop, or we could be looking for starting to move up. Now, I know that's pretty obvious. Obviously anything's either going to drop or go up. But the point is here that everything could be getting to a point where it's ready to bounce. Now, if that's true, what could be happening here is that we have another slight correction. For Bitcoin specifically, we hit this red line and bounce up. Pretty interesting. So we're going to get into it, and I'm going to show you why I think that. Just to kick things off, make sure that you on YouTube subscribe to the channel, like the video. You'll see all my social links in the description. You can follow me on Twitter. I only put updates there if I feel it's going to be useful. And also follow me on Twitch if you'd like. On Twitch, we do live streams. So this video you're watching right now is recorded live on Twitch. And then after the video, we do a Q&A that is specific to Twitch. So you're not going to see those here on YouTube. But if you want to watch them, you can go on to Twitch and watch the past broadcasts, and you can see the Q&As, or you could join us live. Live is usually fun. You can ask me questions and stuff, and we usually have a pretty good time. We got a pretty chill group of people on Twitch. All right, so let's get it started off with Bitcoin. All right, the first thing to note with Bitcoin is that all of the moving averages, and we're looking at the 4-hour chart, that's kind of where we tend to do our analysis on this channel. The first thing that you notice is that you really have the majority of the moving averages starting to bundle up. And every time you see that, you're looking for a move to occur as they become very constricted. And you can kind of see that in the past. I mean, if I zoom out a little bit, you'll see the last time that the moving averages became really constricted was around this area here. Once they became constricted, the price bounced up, and then they became very they deviated from each other once again. Now they're becoming very constricted again. But keep in mind, they were constricted here for a good amount of time, for about 8 to 10 days. We are just now constricting the moving averages. So there's a possibility for us to remain constricted for another 8 to 10 days, possibly a little bit longer, which would make sense, because if you think about this from the perspective of the price going sideways and the moving averages staying constricted for Bitcoin, what that means is that if the price was to move sideways like this, the moving averages would stay constricted, and then we would start reaching this red trend line as our base price. The red trend line could become the bottom, and that would be at around 56,000 by April 1st, which is 7 days away. So it's very feasible that we see something like that. Now, we could see something else. One thing that I'm noticing with all the charts is that, well, specifically with the Bitcoin chart, we really like what we saw here, right? This move right here shows us that we basically bounced right off of where the 200 exponential moving average is. Now, we didn't actually hit that moving average, which is also a good sign because we were bought up before we even touched the 200 EMA. That's really good as far as showing strength for the asset. That means that there are a lot of people waiting to buy Bitcoin, and they purchased it immediately as they saw a short dip below 54,000. So everything below 54,000 was bought up very quickly, and the price came right back up to 54. It didn't stay there for long, and now it's already at 55. It's kind of hovering between 54.5 and 56. That's kind of where we've seen it over the last 8 hours. And what I'm really wondering now at this point is, will we see another drop and come back and test this red line? Because if you look back on this chart a little historically, we hit this red line only once, right? We hit it down here when the price dropped all the way from around 58,000 back down to about 43,000. This was early March, right towards the beginning of the month. We didn't actually come back and test this red line ever again. Now, we normally want to test these support lines a couple of times. Here, we didn't even drop down far enough to test it. It's almost like that red line is moving up, meaning that the bottom is becoming lower and lower, or I'm sorry, not lower, but the bottom is becoming higher and higher and higher, meaning that price is not dropping as low every time. It's good because you want to see higher lows, but coming back and testing that line and seeing a big wick off of it could be what we need to see another bounce. Now, another thing you can keep in mind here is if we see another major drop, that would probably be a good thing for Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin could come down and test this 45,000 level again, then you're basically going to put in a double bottom, and that's a very bullish sign because you would set a neckline around here, like around 58 to 60,000, meaning that you'd be looking for the price to go up about that much. No, that's a little too much, but you'd basically be looking, let me make these lines a little bit better. So let's say we have a neckline right around here, right? Let's say that becomes our neckline. Then pretty much what you're looking for is you're looking for a price move from the neckline down to the base, which would be right about here. Let's just say 44,000. Okay, so if we were to see something like this and the price did drop down to that level again and then pick up and get bought up very quickly, we would be looking for a move up anywhere around $75,000 to $76,000. That yellow line up would be our move up. Now, this is a possibility, but I think it's very unlikely that we see this big of a drop. This big of a drop seems like it's a little bit of a long shot because you're looking for a lot of people to sell Bitcoin at a time when the world, well, like the entire global economies are doing terrible when it comes to, their fiat currency. So why would anyone want to sell that much Bitcoin? Something would have to happen to trigger a move like that. Possibly a whale just selling a ton of Bitcoin, creating that cascading effect of sells. And hopefully if something like that happens and we go down to around 44 again, that gives everyone who knows about what's going to happen in the future of Bitcoin, who understands its prospects, another chance to buy. So getting that buying opportunity would be wonderful. I would love to buy some Bitcoin at around 40,000 or 44,000 again. That would be amazing. But I don't know if we'll get that chance. It's just something to watch out for. If we do see something like that happening, I doubt you'll have a long time to buy at that level because the recovery up will start pretty quickly, kind of like we saw here with this recovery, right? This was a fairly quick recovery. If you wanted to buy at around 43,000, you only had about a day or 2 days until it was back up to 52. So if that was to happen again, we'll probably see a faster move up and then once again start trading in this area here, which is our current trading channel. And if that happens and we do set in this double bottom pattern, seeing a move up to 76,000 would be right around the corner. So keep it in mind. I mean, there's nothing confirming that yet. It's pure speculation. And we would really need to see if the price drops below 52,000 roughly for that to even be possible. It would have to drop below this red line. Once it drops below this trading channel at the bottom, then we would be looking for it to get a ton of support at 47. So it would not only have to drop below this trend line here, it would then have to drop below this support line at 47,000 and then go to about 42 to 43. If that happens, I'm telling you, A, I'll be buying at those levels, and B, I'll be looking for our next breakout target to be easily at 75,000 because that would essentially confirm that double bottom. And you really want to see a double bottom when you're doing a bunch of sideways trading. Like we know there's a lot of sideways trading happening here. Now, something like that may not even occur. The reason I say that is because when we come down and test this red line, this would be a perfect time for Bitcoin to bounce because the price has been getting constricted and so are the moving averages. So if we did come back down and test this red line, it is also a possibility that we take a move up and we break through the previous all-time high of around 61.6, right? And that could be our route up to around 66,000 to 68,000. So one of two possibilities, right? Either we hit support at the red line and we bounce, or we drop down below, set in the double bottom, and then see an even bigger bounce on the way up. So that's one of two major options for what could be happening. If we bypass both of those and we go sideways, then we're going to be looking for a move to happen by the time we trade along this red line. I don't see us really going sideways past this red line. I see it being much more likely that we start moving up with this trading channel because that's been the upward momentum that we've been seeing, even with low volume. Keep in mind, the volume has not been super high. So when when you see upward momentum while volume is dropping, the fact of the matter is that volume is going to drop enough at a certain point for the price to have to bounce up or to take a dip. And at this point, either one is great for Bitcoin. So it's something really interesting that we need to keep in mind. Now, the other thing I want you to be aware of with Bitcoin is what's happening with the exchange supply. So this is always really important. Basically, you have two types of supply for Bitcoin, right? You have the overall circulating supply, which is the amount of Bitcoin that exists across all the exchanges. And then you also have the available Bitcoin on exchanges. So you know that there's one that's the total circulating supply. That's how much Bitcoin exists right now. Then you have one that is the exchange supply, the supply that's on exchanges for people to buy. And I'm going to pull up a chart here on viewbase.com. Now on Viewbase, we can see here, this shows us the supply on exchange wallets. You'll see in the last 1 day that there has been about 12,395 Bitcoin taken off of Coinbase. In total, if you add up everything, there's been a total in the last 24 hours of 13,000 Bitcoin that has left exchanges. I mean, 12,000 Bitcoin alone is quite a lot, but let's calculate at 13,000 even, just to put in a little bit of a standard deviation there. So if we calculate that and put in 13,000 and we multiply that by the current price, which is about 55,000, let's just do 55,000 even, and we press enter, then that shows you a pretty big number here. What you're looking at right here is $715 million worth of Bitcoin has left exchanges in the last 24 hours. That's a lot of Bitcoin, and the majority of that is coming from Coinbase. It's a lot of Bitcoin to leave the exchange in a day. Now you go to 7 days and you see the number is roughly the same. But if you look at all the exchanges combined, all the exchanges that this is looking at, you're seeing 18,000 Bitcoin has left exchanges. The number gets really crazy when we go to 30 days. We are seeing in 30 days, 73,000 Bitcoin has left Coinbase. In total, 69,594 Bitcoin has left exchanges in the last 30 days. So let's just average that to 70,000. Okay, and we will we'll clear this and we'll do 70,000 times 55,000 because that's about the price right now. That's showing us that 3.85 billion has left exchanges in the last 30 days. $3.85 billion worth of Bitcoin. It's a lot of Bitcoin that's leaving exchanges. And keep in mind what's happening with the price in the last 30 days, right? If we look back to the 22nd of last month, you're basically looking at a zone like this, right? We'll come here and we're going to grab our rectangle. We're going to go back to around February the 22nd, and we're just going to create a box here. So this is about the last month's worth of trading. So what's happened in the time frame that all of this Bitcoin has left exchanges? Well, the price dropped from around 58,000 down to around 44,000, and now it's gone back up to around 55,000. In reality, that's not a ton of stuff that's happened. That's basically showing during the majority of this month, people have been buying Bitcoin because the price went up for most of the month from around 44,000 all the way up to 61.6, right? That's where it set its new all-time high. So the price has been going up slowly over the last month, and at the same time, $4 billion worth of Bitcoin has left exchanges. That to me sounds like people moving Bitcoin to cold wallets. More than likely the people that have been buying in these areas, right? The people that have been buying Bitcoin here in large amounts have been moving it off exchange, meaning that they're unlikely to sell, meaning that in this entire range, as price moves forward over the next few weeks, there's less Bitcoin on exchanges. And if we continue to see the same thing, Bitcoin leaving exchanges, that's more of an indication that the Bitcoin that's being purchased is not being sold. It's being moved into cold storage to be held for a much higher price in the future. And that's pretty much what you'd expect from Bitcoin at this point, because it's in most cases, you would consider it one of the better assets to invest in right now. And with what's going on with the global economy, why wouldn't you want to keep it safe? You'd want to move your Bitcoin off exchange and put it on like a ledger or Trezor device, basically a cold wallet where you're storing your own private keys. So keep it in mind, this is a good website to check out. This is viewbase.com. When you go to this website, you'll see a list of all the major tokens. You can click on them, and then you can look at the exchange flow. So keep that in mind. It's worth looking at, and it's really worth monitoring. I check it at least once a week, which is why I noticed what was going on. Okay, so that's pretty much it for Bitcoin. What I would say is we've gone over the key scenarios. Everything else is looking really good. And you know what? There's one more thing with Bitcoin you should know. All right, so if we go into the weekly chart, all right, this is what the weekly chart for Bitcoin has looked like over the last few weeks, right? We have basically, this is actually from December. Each candle represents 1 week. Right, so over the last few weeks, we've kind of been in a consolidation, but it's been an upward consolidation. You can see our trend lines a lot better here. Okay, now, if you turn on the TD sequential, you see something very interesting. The last thing we had on the TD sequential on the Bitcoin weekly chart was a green 9 flash. Now, if you haven't joined me in a while, the 9 flashes on the TD sequential are pretty good indicators. A green 9 flash means that the price will likely see a dip. A red 9 flash means that the price will likely go up. Green 9 flash means it's been overbought, so people need to sell and take profit. A red 9 flash means it's oversold. Now, when an asset's very bullish and it's in a bull market, what you can see after a green 9 flash is the price go up significantly, and then these candles start getting pink and red. This is showing you that the asset is being overbought to massive levels. It means that so many people are in profit and nobody's selling and the price keeps going up. It needs a correction. And you can see as soon as the candles became like hot pink, it had its first correction. This is when it dropped down from around 40,000 back down to about 28, 29,000. After that, the price kept moving up. But one thing you'll notice is that the TD sequential had not been reset yet because the price did not drop enough for it to reset. But last week, the TD sequential finally reset. This was after weeks and weeks of not resetting. It finally reset. And now we are seeing a green 9 flash, or I'm sorry, not a green 9 flash, but we're seeing a green 1. We saw a red 1 and now a green 1. Now, seeing the TD sequential reset on the weekly chart after such a large number of weeks tells me two things. It tells me, one, the next phase of the bull run per the weekly chart is ready to begin. Right? Because now we've seen not only the Bitcoin being oversold, we've seen it get some consolidation, meaning there was profit taking. We've seen more people buy. We've seen another drop, meaning that more people took profits. And now we are seeing it reach a point where there are less people in profit. I mean, there's still a lot of people in profit, but there are less people in profit to a point where the charts are showing that they're oversold. We've at least had some sideways trading. If we're really ready now for the next move, take a look at what happened during the last consolidation, the last 2 times. Every time we came and touched this red line on the right-hand side, we came and touched the red line, it started our next move up. We came and touched the red line, started our next move up. Now we are doing the same thing. So if we go sideways for another week, we will be back to touching the red line. And that's a good indication that if we do this, the price could then move up and put us into that 75 to 76,000 range. So there's a lot of indications that Bitcoin is getting ready to make that next move. So keep it in mind. We will go over it again in a couple of days and we'll see where things stand. And we're going to move through the remainder of the assets now because we spent quite a lot of time on Bitcoin. Okay, so let me remove this TD sequential. We'll get this chart set back to normal so that you can keep an eye on it through the link in the description if you'd like to do that. All right, so we'll go to Bitcoin and we will go ahead and close ViewBase. And we are now going to move on to Ethereum. So with Ethereum, we looked at a pattern the last time we met. And this pattern basically showed us that we were looking for 2 things for Ethereum, right? We were looking for Ethereum to either move sideways and make a move up or down in this chart, or we were looking for Ethereum to essentially go past this line and stay sideways. It actually did make a move. It made a move down. Now, it's not been long enough to confirm that Ethereum is actually on a downtrend. This is somewhat of a bearish sign to see Ethereum drop down from this pattern going downwards. But if we come back and we go into this triangle in the next 4 days before it ends, then there's no reason that the price, can't go like this go sideways again, and then break out. So there's still a chance that we can break out of this triangle and have a pretty big breakout. But if the price continues to go sideways and set in a new trend, we're going to invalidate this triangle and likely put in a new symmetrical triangle, something like this, right? Obviously, that's not a great drawing. It looks kind of like a whale, but something like that, right? We may see a pattern like that start to emerge, but it's too early to tell. Best case scenario for Ethereum right now is to keep trading sideways where it is and build up its volume profile. Right now, you have a lot of volume in this area, which is from around 1750 to 1850, but you don't have a ton of volume below that. So putting in more volume for Ethereum between around 1630 and 1750 is pretty good. Hopefully we'll see that, and we'll see a little bit of action like this, setting in a much more solid support zone for Ethereum. Ethereum, as far as its usability goes, it's been, even though Ethereum gas fees are so high, the Ethereum network has been used a lot more in the last couple of weeks than it was previously, and that's because of the boom with NFTs. NFTs have been going up so much that a lot of people have been using Ethereum and paying the transaction fees just so they can create NFTs. You know, as a test, I even created an NFT. It's on Rarible. If you're interested, look at my Twitter and you'll see a link to the NFT I created. It's just a screenshot of an old poker image from when I used to play online poker. Now, the interesting thing about NFTs is that you have to pay a pretty decent gas fee to put them online. So this was also, I could learn about it and create an NFT that has some value because it is very unique. There's only one of those screenshots in the world because it was from a game that I played. Now, the thing is, as people get more into this, you're going to continue to see Ethereum being used more and gaining more adoption because people are seeing a lot of value in creating NFTs, paying a high gas fee, and then selling it for a lot more if it starts to pick up, especially for artists and for other digital content creators. So it's a very interesting thing to see how that's going to affect Ethereum. But in reality, what's really going to be the boom for Ethereum is what we have talked about before, and that is essentially seeing the ETH Foundation, the group of ETH developers, fix the problem with gas fees and make it more cost effective to use, because there are competitors now, and those competitors are going to come strong as they start offering more feature sets. One of those competitors is the one we are going to go into next, which is EGLD. So we're going to move directly on to EGLD. Not a lot else to see for Ethereum. So let's go ahead and move forward. Okay, so with EGLD, what I want you to notice is that we are reaching a pretty critical point. We are reaching a decision point within this triangle. Now, there are two things that could happen as we reach the apex of this triangle. One of those is that we break below it and we take a drop down back to around 99, 100 if we do dip that low. The other thing is that we can break out of it and we can see if we continue trading within this rectangle here or if we break out of that. So you're really looking for EGLD to break past 150 and flip 150 as support. 150 is the top of this major trading zone, which is in purple. It's in the middle of your screen. This major trading zone is what we need to break out of in order to really see further price movement for EGLD right now. Now, we're getting support at the bottom, which is about 135, but we just recently, over the last 8 to 12 hours, have started breaking below that. We haven't gone back above it yet and flipped it as support, so there's still that possibility that EGLD drops. But if EGLD drops, it's not really a bad thing, because if you keep it in mind, with EGLD, if it drops and it comes down to that 100... Sorry, if EGLD drops and it comes down to that 100 level, right, like right around here, and then starts moving up, once again, we are putting in a double bottom, right? And that double bottom for EGLD gives us a pretty nasty target. So we would see here that our neckline would be roughly there. Okay, that would be our neckline. Now, if we are to put in that double bottom, right, and it comes down to about here, to like around 92-ish, right? That means that our breakout target for EGLD, after the price recovers the final time, would be somewhere in the range of around 230 to 240. It would put us right in line to hit about $230. that would break the previous all-time high of 218. And this seems like quite a likely scenario with what's happening. So it's weird because you start to see these patterns and you realize, like, most people investing in these assets, they don't want to see the price go down, right? But once you start understanding chart analysis and really realizing that these patterns tend to repeat over time, you start to see the benefit in these drops. Because imagine if this happens. If this happens, this means that not only are we putting in a double bottom, but people might get a chance to buy again at 100 or a little bit lower for a very short time. And if you're able to buy again at that level, then you know that when the price comes up, when that double bottom formation is done and the next leg of the bull run starts, you're looking for a target at around 230. Like, why wouldn't you buy at around 100 if you see a pattern like this emerging? You know, it's like betting with some type of education behind it. Now, bear in mind, it's still probability, right? That there's no guarantee it's going to happen, but it's a lot better to see a pattern that has repeated itself time and time again in stock charts and crypto charts, and gives you enough confidence to say, okay, I know the project, I know it's a great project. I know the use cases are great. I know that the supply economics are great. On top of that, I know it's been consolidating massively without seeing drops below a certain point. So it's safe to assume that if the price comes down to 99 to 100 again, it's going to get bought up very fast, because people like me and likely a lot of other people who know about the asset are going to buy at those levels, which means that as the price starts to recover, you have no choice but to put in a double bottom. And once you put in a double bottom, you also have no choice but to calculate, okay, what happens with double bottoms? Well, you normally break out from the neckline. So, I mean, that's what I see, and I'm oddly hoping that this happens. I mean, I hope that, you know, EGLD does well over time and all that, but at the moment, seeing a drop like that and being able to buy again at those prices would be best case scenario, because it would not only put in the double bottom, I'd be able to pick up more a little cheaper, and I'd be able to make more in profit as the price goes up. So keep it in mind. That's why I say in the title of this stream and of this video that this is a critical decision point, because in order to get that opportunity, the price has to drop. But we don't know if it's going to drop, because right now it's already been consolidating so much, it could just bounce and break out from where it is now. We don't know. Or it could keep going sideways and extend this triangle out until it breaks out. The one thing another thing you want to keep in mind with EGLD is the volume has not changed, right? The volume has continued to drop. So as the volume continues to drop, we know at a certain point the volume is going to come back. The question now is the volume going to come back in the form of a drop to give us that double bottom? Or is the volume going to come back in the form of a spike to just say, you know what, it's too bullish for there to be a double bottom? We don't know. With Bitcoin, I could see it going either way. With EGLD, I think there's more possibility for that drop to happen and for us to get the double bottom and then have a massive breakout that we've all been waiting for. So we got to keep it in mind. You got to remember to do your risk management because of moves like this. The last thing you want to do is not anticipate something like this coming, and then it does happen and you get scared and sell everything, right? I'm not giving you financial advice, but you have to be prepared for either scenario. You can't just invest something and always think it's going to go up. You have so many people on YouTube and Twitch just saying like, oh, everything's going to the moon, it's going up, it's going up, it's all going up. That's not how it's always going to be. Maybe long-term certain projects will go up and do very well, but they're not always just going to go up all the time. Doesn't make sense. That's not how it works. So keep that reality in mind, and this is a downside scenario to be ready with EGLD and to bet on it based on how you think the strategy is going to work. Because keep in mind, with EGLD, they're still doing the hypergrowth initiative. So even if the price drops at around the time that all these DeFi 2.0 protocols are starting to get released, they're going to be released 2 months apart. And as they start coming and utilization of the network starts to rise, I mean, buying at these lower prices, it's not going to be an option forever. You know, it's just very unlikely, especially as all these DeFi features are starting to get so much more mainstream. I mean, eventually NFTs are going to be on EGLD. And if you're talking about being able to do put your NFTs up for sale on a blockchain where the fees are significantly less than Ethereum, why wouldn't you? You know, once I can put up NFTs on Elrond, I'm going to start creating NFTs over time, right? And once I have the opportunity to create them on the Elrond blockchain, that's where I'm going to put them. And I think a lot of other people that know about Elrond are going to do the same. And those things are going to make the value of the entire blockchain as a whole go up, right? It's going to make things be more valuable. So keep in mind, there's downsides and there's upsides. And right now, ironically, the downside is an upside, if that makes sense. Okay. Finally, we're going to move on to ADA. There's not a lot else to talk about with EGLD. Honestly, it's the decision point. That's what we have to keep in mind. If we hold this area, this rectangle, right? If we hold this rectangle, I mean, that's good too, because if the price keeps getting constricted, that's never a bad thing. And if you look at the moving averages are so constricted that you would expect a big move to be happening sometime soon. Now, that big move could be the drop that we talked about, right? And putting in the double bottom. Or that big move could be that, you know what? People are buying anytime it dips, the price is going to move up. One of the two is going to happen. There's not a lot else to talk about with EGLD, but what's really going to be key with EGLD is to see where the price is in the next 2 days. Because basically now, until we see a big move, every 2 to 3 days, doing some more chart analysis on EGLD is going to be really important, because we might be able to figure out which way it's moving right before the move happens. So I'll try to have another video going over EGLD tomorrow or the day after so we can get a quicker update on it. All right, finally, we move on to Cardano, and we're going to wrap it up there. All right, so with Cardano, we are seeing somewhat of a similar thing when it comes to the double bottom. Now, this is a little bit tougher of a double bottom, because in reality, what you'd want to see with Cardano to put in a true double bottom would be the price to really drop down to even here at around 86 cents, because then you'd have a double bottom with this and with this right here. So your chart would basically be like that, right? Seeing a double bottom like that, that would be ideal, because then the breakout target for Cardano would be way bigger. The breakout target would, you know, at the neckline would put Cardano going up to like $1.60. But that's, I don't know. I feel like it's unlikely for Cardano to drop down to 86 cents at this point. I feel like it's more likely that we see Cardano get support at the $1.05 level, or $1.02, between $1.02 and $1.05, kind of where it's seen support before, right? It hit support here, hit support here, hit support here, right there, and right here in that area. So we know that the $1 to $1.05 has been a pretty decent support level for Cardano, and we're seeing that volume-wise on the right-hand side of this chart that there is quite a lot of support being put in on the chart, right? You see on the right-hand side of my screen, there's a good amount of support being put in here. Seeing this grow would really be the best thing in my opinion. I mean, trying to bet on a double bottom the way Cardano's moving is very unlikely, a lot less unlikely than everything else. But seeing it trade in between $1.03 and $1.25 and continue to move sideways in this range is very feasible. And that would also increase the support significantly. It would make this look a lot more natural, like bring the support out to there. And if that happens, then you have a steady foundation to break out of once it's ready to go past $1.25. I also feel that with Cardano, we're going to see most likely at some point in the future that it's going to have some type of institutional investment, whether that be Grayscale or even just individual companies saying that, hey, we've bought some Cardano. I don't really know when that would happen. I would assume that if Grayscale is creating a Cardano trust, we'll find out about it at sometime soon. And that could help explain some of the major price movements. I mean, we saw a lot of price movements with Cardano when it got listed on Coinbase and Coinbase Pro. And we know a lot more users are going to get exposed to the asset. So the amount of purchasing for Cardano is likely going to go up. Remember, when you have Coinbase list an asset, then anytime there's news about that asset, you now have, another 50 million people that can buy the asset that may not have had accounts on other exchanges like Binance. So in this case, any good news that comes out about Cardano could cause a much higher price fluctuation than previously, because of those listings. So personally, I think that Cardano is in a position now where it also has a decision point. Is it going to continue trading sideways in this area and build up support? Or is it going to break out of this area? I feel like the drop down to 86 cents is very unlikely, so that's not something that I would bet on. I mean, putting an order down there could just be a waste because that order may never trigger. It's just unlikely based on the charts for it to happen. It could happen, but it's unlikely. So normally, if I was going to put in a lower downside target to buy Cardano, I would probably put it somewhere at around $1, maybe 95 cents, just in case it wicks down below that area. But I don't really think I'd put it any lower than that. And what I would look to see is how long does it take Cardano to really build up some more volume in this area? Because once it does and this volume comes up, I think that chart-wise, it wouldn't be unlikely to see Cardano make a fairly decent move. Now, keep in mind, what's really key for Cardano is breaking past this level at around 147. So pretty much at $1.50, because it's already hit that once, it's already hit that twice, and if you see it hit that again and drop, that's not a good sign. You don't want to get rejected 3 times at the same level. You want to see at least a short move above that level and start putting in an uptrend. If you start getting rejected at the same level over and over again, then it's very likely that you're going to start seeing some form of a downtrend. So Cardano is still undecided. Remember, Cardano has made massive moves since its lows. All right. I mean, look at what we're looking at on the chart. Since the price was about 18 cents, it has literally done nothing but gone up and gone sideways. There has been barely any significant consolidation, right? This sideways movement is good to see. I mean, it means some people are taking profits, some people are buying more, but you would really want to see a bigger drop to know that a lot of people have taken profits. You want weak hands selling, strong hands buying. And there hasn't been like a huge amount of trading activity in Cardano to show me that it's really had the drop it needs to recover. But it might not even need it, because this could just be the beginning of a very strong performing asset where it doesn't need that kind of a drop. With EGLD, I feel a lot more comfortable because we saw a huge price rise and then we saw a pretty decent drop and then a sideways consolidation. So I know during this drop here, a lot of people took profits in EGLD, right, during that drop there. Then I know that a lot of people bought in this area, and now I know that we're consolidating again in this area. This is a very natural progression, but seeing something that doesn't have that big drop, it's kind of worrisome. You know, I guess you could consider this a decent drop here, you know, this one here, but it doesn't seem like it's enough just with the amount of price movement it's had. I could be wrong. Keep it in mind, I still feel like what's more likely to see with Cardano is seeing it put in a lot more volume in the range that it is, not that much, but maybe that much volume in the range that it is, kind of hitting these areas that the volume peaked out at around 40 cents, which means it could trade in this range for a little while, maybe until mid-April, until it moves up, right? Very possible with the amount of movement it's already had. Then again, with that Coinbase listing, if some crazy news comes out about Cardano, it could move up very fast because it's cheap enough for a lot of people to buy at $1, whatever, like $1.12 per token. And then on top of that, you have millions of new users that suddenly have access to it on Coinbase. That changes the dynamics. It means that the type of fluctuations you've seen in the past could become a lot more dramatic now, because now you have millions more people that are going to be looking to get in if they see the potential of this rising to $2, $3, whatever it might be. Okay, that is pretty much it, you guys. I think we've gone over everything we wanted to for today. We are going to have another video coming in the next couple of days, and we'll go over more. I want to thank you for joining me. To all the people on YouTube, I appreciate you. Make sure that you like and subscribe and check out the links in my description. I'll put a link of the NFT I created in the description if you want to check it out. It's mainly for poker fans. It's not really for the people watching this channel, but hey, if anyone likes it, feel free to bid on it. If not, don't worry about it. It was more to learn and teach myself my own skills. and we'll see what happens. I'll have more NFTs coming out in the future at some point, possibly on the Elrond blockchain. I don't know if I'll create any more on Rarible or Ethereum just because of the gas fees being so high. So we'll see what happens, and I will talk to you guys soon. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, Twitch also, and to all the people on the Twitch live stream, I'm about to join you in a minute, and we're going to do the Q&A. Thanks, everyone, for joining me. Make sure you keep an eye out on the channel. Later this week, I'm going to release a video on the dangers of leverage trading. That is a very important video. Everyone needs to watch it. Even if you don't do any leverage trading, you need to watch this video so that you know what to look out for if you do ever try to get into leverage trading. That's it. Have a great day. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.